When Dave asked if I shared with you my 35-year friendship with Carol, I didn't know how I could possibly put into words what she meant to me. But I've done it. And I think I can do it in 3.5 hours. It was a miracle that our paths crossed. We were very young moms, trying to furnish our homes on a very, very tight budget. We both attended auctions every weekend. I noticed her immediately, a very pretty woman, dressed so uniquely. It didn't take long to realize that this woman wanted what I wanted. She was bidding against me. I didn't like her. One day she approached me and she said, "It seems like we both like the same things. We should work together so we don't bid each other up." Okay, that sounded like a good plan. And so from then on, every weekend, we would look for each other. We would size up the snag of the day and or the deal of the day and try and snag it up. But after a little while, I began to realize that if Carol sensed that I really wanted something, she would back away. It was then that I realized how very kind she was. After several years of treasure hunting, Carol asked if I would like to share a booth with her selling antiques. We were sure we could make lots of money. And therefore, we would have a bigger budget to buy more of our own possessions. It didn't happen. We were buying more than we were selling. Carol put so many hours into refinishing a piece of furniture, and then she would sell it for so little. I would say, "Carol, you can't make money doing it this way." And she would say, "But look what I've done. I've brought something back to life, and now another family can enjoy it." No two ladies had more laughs and more funds while losing lots of money. One weekend, 5 ladies from Brighton went on a bus trip to Indianapolis antiquing. When we arrived at the motel we were to stay at, I knew we were in trouble. It was in a really rough area. We couldn't stay here. So 5 of us went into the office to use the phone. I called for a taxi and was told, "Lady, we don't pick up in that area." I said, "Hey, wait a minute, it's 3 p.m. There's 5 of us. We're stranded here. You have to come and get us." I heard considerable discussion between the dispatcher and some of the drivers. Finally, he came back on the line and said, "Okay, I have a driver that will come and get you." When the driver arrived, I thanked him for coming to get us. "Well," he said, "I just wanted to see what 5 working girls were up to." Carol was puzzled. And she said, "Why does he care where we work?" It was then that I witnessed an innocence and a purity that I had never, ever seen in my life. In our early years, Carol expressed her lack of confidence in making friends. She was so intelligent. I found her so easy to talk to. I didn't understand. How can she be uncomfortable? She's a gem. She's easy to talk to. "I don't know how to be different," she said. "I don't know how to be like you." I said, "Oh, for heaven's sakes, Carol, just adopt my philosophy. "What's that?" she said. I said, "I just assume everybody wants the pleasure of my company." And how she laughed and laughed and laughed at my jokes. Aha, I had a friend who would laugh at my jokes. Several years later, when the antiquing business didn't pan out, I decided to raise puppies. Carol, of course, wanted to be supportive. She bought the most beautiful little tiny runt of a puppy. Oh, he was so sweet and so precious, but he grew up to be downright scary. There was not a time that I did not go in that front door when that dog would growl, snarl, bare his teeth, and try to bite you. I would beg Carol to take the money back. I didn't feel right about it. She had a nasty dog. No, she would say, "We love him." And she loved him for 10 miserable years. Carol was loyal even to a nasty little dog. Carol was a very humble person. When I went to visit her home, I noticed a man in a picture. He was pictured with the President of the United States, more than one. Whoops. I said, "Carol, who is this man?" She said, "Well, that's my dad. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was a real hero." It was a fact she did not share for many years. And I was so amazed at her humility. Carol had an incredible eye for design. Whether it was paint, furniture, landscaping, she always knew what would look best. I often marveled at her desire. She would help you design a grand plan for you, but never for herself. This same eye could spot a speck of dust 2 rooms away. My only fear is the dear Lord is already tired of her pointing out the imperfections of heaven. Carol introduced the Michigan bluebird to me. It is truly one of nature's beauties. It is such a precious and tiny and perfect little creature. Carol devoted countless hours trying to preserve their habitat. Many local residents have bluebird houses on their property because of Carol, and I would like to think that their life will go on because of Carol. When we started Marion Oaks, I just didn't have any time for Carol. I didn't have time for any friends. But she would stop in twice a week, and she became my cheerleader. She would sense my fear of failure. And she would always say, "Don't give up. You can't give up. You can never give up." And so I persevered because of her. When Carol decided to go back to school and become an occupational therapist, I was amazed at her efforts. She worked so hard. She was so intelligent. She loved her job, but had barely begun when illness struck. But still, she managed to get to work, even though those brutal treatments had started. I have shared with you that Carol was kind, generous, humble, and loyal. But what I will remember forever is the love of her family. She loved Abby and Margaret. All she ever wanted was the best for them. She was so proud of what successful and contributing women they became. When they blessed her with grandchildren, it brought new joy. She loved her grandkids so much. She would often call me, and tell me of their accomplishments, the funny things they would say. It truly, truly brought her such joy. But the greatest blessing of all was her love for Dave. For 35 years, I heard nothing but her respect for him. What a good man he was. What a great provider. And in the end, the best caregiver ever. Carol hung on to witness her 43rd wedding anniversary. Dave was the love of her life, and she his. In the beginning of the illness, we both heard those awful words. 6 to 9 months, that's all. Carol looked at me and I looked at her. What do you say? There were no words. Finally, Carol said, Veronica, that's not enough time. I have to have more time. I have to have more time. I have so much to do for my family. Carol was not afraid of dying. She was afraid of leaving her family before she did what she must do and before she said what she must say. She fought the hardest battle ever, and it was all for her family, her sisters, her children, her son-in-laws, her grandchildren, and most of all, her beloved Dave. I know that Carol left this world experiencing the greatest joy, the gift of devotion. Carol and I would often speak about the end. The day would come when she wouldn't be here. I believe I've found a poem that if Carol could be here today, and if she could speak to all of us, she would say these words. When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not here to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry the way you do today, while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me, as much as I love you. And each time that you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand. An angel came and called my name and took me by the hand. He said my place was ready in heaven far above, and that I'd have to leave behind all those I dearly love. But as I turned to walk away, a tear fell from my eye. For all my life, I'd always thought I didn't want to die. I had so much to live for, so much left yet to do. It seemed almost impossible that I was leaving you. I thought of all the yesterdays, the good ones and the bad. I thought of all the love we shared and all the love we had. If I could relive yesterday, just even for a while, I'd say goodbye and kiss you and maybe see you smile. But then I fully realized that this could never be, for emptiness and memories would take the place of me. And then I thought of worldly things I might miss come tomorrow. I thought of you, and when I did, my heart was filled with sorrow. But when I walked through heaven's gates, I felt so much at home. When God looked down and smiled at me from his great golden throne, he said, "This is eternity, and all I've promised you. Today your life on earth is past, but here life starts anew. I promise no tomorrow, but today will always last. And since each day's the same way, there is no longing for the past. You have been so faithful, so trusting, and so true. Though there were times you did some things you knew you shouldn't do. But now you have been forgiven, and now at last you're free. So won't you come and take my hand and share my life with me? So when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart." Thank you for everybody who helped Dave and Carol in their time of need. It meant so much to them, and it meant so much to me. Thank you.